Hey everybody, it's Kory. Thanks for joining me. Before we get into the housing stats for the month of June, I want to welcome you to our property line. Actually, this is the fence line to the inner perimeter of our property, and behind me is some acreage that we still own that includes wilderness. And this fence right here keeps our animals safe from the predators, and it keeps our dogs inside the fence line so that they don't go into the woods. Now, why that's important is if you look over my left shoulder, right over there, every year, a couple times a year, there will be a female coyote sitting on her hind haunches looking at this fence line. And she's hoping to draw our dogs off the property using their instincts to protect the property against them. She's hoping that they will chase her into the woods, and as soon as he gets them into the woods, the rest of the coyote pack, if the dogs followed her, would pounce on my dogs and eat them alive. Now, what does that have to do with real estate? Let me tell you. Bonnie and I this week had something happen to us that does not happen enough. We were actually interviewed by a family to see if we would work for them. And they told us straight up, they met us at the office, and they said, hey, you are the third of 3 agents that we're interviewing. We've already interviewed the first 2, and we just want to make sure that whoever we choose to represent us has the character and the knowledge to represent us in a market that we know nothing about. They weren't just going to blindly follow somebody into those woods. So they interviewed 3 agents. And that's what we recommend that you guys do. If you're going to buy or sell a house, you need to interview at least 3 real estate agents. And the reason that that's important is you need to be able to trust their character, that they have your best interests at heart, and you need to be able to trust their intuition and their knowledge and their experience related to the market that you're about to follow them into. Give you an example. There's a friend of ours, a family who, before they ever knew we were in real estate, they had driven through town, they saw a 5-acre property with a real estate sign in front of it, so they called the number on the sign and they got a hold of that real estate agent and they asked about the property. And that agent answered their questions, and they ended up using that agent. And that agent represented both the seller and the buyer, and that's what we call double ending, and they ended up getting the property. Now, come summer, this family goes to turn on the bathroom faucet and no water comes out. Their well ran dry. And in talking to the neighbor's like, oh yeah, that happened every year. They used to come over to us and borrow our hose, blah, blah, blah. So the sellers knew that the well was bad. And high likelihood that the selling agent knew it. And if the agent didn't, the family that used that agent did themselves a disservice because they did not have a real estate agent on their side representing them in the transaction against the selling agent. Had they sat down with 3 agents and interviewed them and asked them, do you guys do rural properties? What should we be aware of when we're looking at rural properties? And ask the hard questions of those agents. A good buying agent representing you in rural transactions knows about wells. They know where the wells work, where they don't. They know how to investigate wells. They know about easements and well agreements and all the things that rural properties have. And when you're interviewing agents, ask them the tough questions. How many homes have you sold? How many homes do you have in escrow right now? How many rural properties have you sold? And if you're looking for rural properties and they say, well, I've sold homes in town, there's a mismatch there. And if they tell you, we represent all properties, there's a mismatch there. You ask them a specific question. What properties do you specialize in is a specific question. Now, when you interview these agents, you're asking them the tough questions to make sure that they fit for you. What you don't want to do is what most people do. And they go online, they find a guy on YouTube, and they say, oh, I like that guy's corny jokes, I think I'll use him as a real estate agent. You're a fool if you do that. You need to interview that agent and that agent's team. Or people will go on to Zillow and click on the premier agent, the one that's the first up in a rotational basis, that pays thousands of dollars to be on that website so that you'll click on their name. Or they'll go to Dave Ramsey and choose their Dave Ramsey's contractors list, or Glenn Beck's real estate agents that I trust. You guys, real estate agents are not on those websites like Dave Ramsey and Glenn Beck because they know Glenn Beck or Dave Ramsey. They're paying a fee to be on that website. And the chances are that those agents are good agents, but you don't know that until you interview them. So interview whatever agents that you're going to end up using and do at least 3 of them. So that's our advice to you. Oh, and also the Aunt Sally real estate agent. A lot of people know real estate agents and they decide to go with real estate agents that they know because they trust them. There's Joe in the church or Aunt Sally in the family, and they go with those people because they trust them. And that's a good reason to go with somebody, but it's not the full equation. And let me give you an example. If we go with Aunt Sally sells 2 or 3 homes a year, we know we can trust her. She loves us. She'll have our best interest at heart. But you see, Aunt Sally doesn't know the market. She only sells 2 or 3 homes a year. She may not even know the type of properties that you're looking for. And she can take you into those woods, and she'll get you in there, and she'll love you and have your best interests at heart. And as soon as you step into that wilderness, she knows nothing about coyotes. You get pounced on by the pack and get eaten alive. Congratulations, Aunt Sally just watched you get eaten alive by the market, loving you. So you not only need to trust the character of the agent, but you also need to be able to trust their intuition, their knowledge, their experience, and their ability to navigate that wilderness that you're going into called the real estate market. So that's our encouragement to you guys. Interview your agents. They should have the ability for you to interview them. If you go onto our website, you'll notice there's a contact tab. You hit the contact tab, and there's the ability for you to set up either a Zoom call or a phone conference or an in-person meeting at our office. We recommend you do that, not just for us, but anybody else that you're considering. And compare those different agents. Make sure that they have what you're looking for to represent you. All right? So that's my piece of advice. Don't just follow any coyote into that wilderness. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the stats for the month of June. And looking at the conventional 30-year fixed rate mortgage and how it ended up at the end of June, it was 6.71. That's down from the end of May, which was 7.14%. Nevertheless, rates are hovering right around that high 6, low 7% range, and it appears they'll probably stay that way for quite a while. All right, and looking at the North Idaho market totals, again, these are all the 5 counties of all of North Idaho when we're talking about these stats. We're comparing June of last year to June of this year. As for new listings last year, the entire month of June, there was 943 homes that came on the market. This June, that went down. There's new listings of 752 for the month of June. That's a decrease of 20.3% year over year. If you were going to see an increase in homes for the season, it would have been this month. This is when schools are now out. Out here in North Idaho, schools get out the first week of June, and that's when families put their houses on the market in hopes of getting it sold so that they can move into the next house by the end of summer. That simply is not happening at the volume that we had hoped. So new listings coming on the market tends to be handicapped, and it's really hard to make sales when there's few homes to sell. And this is one part of the equation. If you're looking for a housing crash, you would expect this number to not be in the negatives. You would want to see a positive increase in the number of new listings, and that's simply not happening. As far as total homes for sale, this is the total inventory on the market last June. There were 1,441, and that's about what you have this June. 1,484 total homes at the end of June for sale. That was a slight jump of only 3%. Pending sales, this is where it gets interesting. Last year we had 341 homes go under contract for the month of June. This June it jumped. It went to 455 homes put under contract. That's a jump of 33.4%. And again, if you're going to see any kind of a housing correction or a housing crash, these two numbers need to be reversed. You need to see high new listings and you need to see low pending sales. And we're just simply not seeing that. So the market's kind of where it's going to be. It's not necessarily increasing as far as volume or decreasing. And you can see that here in the closed sales. Now remember, closed sales are last month's pending sales. So this tends to be a lagging indicator of about 30 to 45 days. So this was the activity that you would have seen in May closing in the month of June. So in June of last year, there were 418 homes that closed for sale, and this year there were fewer closed sales of 402, a decrease of 3.8%. Remember, at the beginning of this year, this number was actually in double digits, where the closed sales were really slower than they are now. And all this is telling us is that there's still strong buyer activity in our area, especially when you relate that to the slow sellers that are reluctant to put their houses on the market. How's the prices doing? Well, last June, the median price was $578,450, and that has come down. Those of you that are looking to buy, this is good news. Prices are down to $519,500. That's a decrease year over year from June last year to June this year of 10.2%. So prices are coming down. And the percentage of cash buyers in our market for the month of June, those closed sales that were cash, 30% of those were cash buyers. As far as closed sales that were new builds, 48 of the 402 homes sold were brand new. And that puts you at about 12% of our market of the homes that are closed are new builds. Now, you'll note that this is lower than the national average. The national average, if you go into other markets, it tends to be about 20% of the homes sold tend to be new homes. And we are here in North Idaho, traditionally our ratio of new homes compared to pre-existing homes tends to be lower than the national average, and it's simply because we don't have the land to build on. We have a lot of wilderness land. 70% of our territory here is all wilderness land. It's public land. You can't build on it. The remaining 30% of our land is broken down the middle. Half of that tends to be privately owned by timber companies and mining companies, and that leaves you about 15% of your total land mass in North Idaho to build homes on for residential properties, and most of those are built out. The remaining areas tend to be in Post Falls, Rathdrum, and Hayden, and of those, it's not a big number of homes that are being built. And granted, people here see new homes and they go, oh my gosh, the building's out of hand. And we know nothing of what real building growth is. If you go to areas like the Salt Lake Valley, if you go to Boise, if you go to Vegas and Phoenix, a lot of their land is available. It's private land that they can build houses on, where our land is public land. And as a result, we tend to be lower in our closed sales that are new builds traditionally. And that hasn't changed. Builders here in our... All right, that's it. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe, hit that like button so that you won't miss the next video. Bye now.